that eligible?
You must be an indigent or a citizen of the state, so to say.
Nominated, they can be so nominated and nobody can do anything about it. Okay. He might be surprised that the person that is going to, and the moment he's elected and sworn in as the governor, that asks him to be, will become his governor.
So in the case of Nyesom Wike, continuing with, in the case of Nyesom Wike, was it that what is good for the goose is not good for the gander?
Exactly, but in the case of Nyesom
I like
Wike,
that political calculation.
Yeah, it's a kind of...
It's a very weird political calculation, that what is good for the goose is not good for the gander.
Nyesom Wike is like, should I say, someone that is above principalities and powers.
Oh.
And
that is
he
very
has
heavy.
all what you can think of. He has resources, he has influence. So he's a big fish in the PDP. No matter what we see, I am not a party man, I don't belong to any political party, but looking at party constitutions, which is what I have read as a political scientist, I understand that there are measures and some activities that the former governor of Rivers State, current FCT minister, have gotten involved in is sufficient. Okay. To wield the strong armor on him. But when they look at the entire scenario, what are they going to gain and what they are going to lose? So they try to pronounce they are going to take some action, but at the end, nothing is done. So it's still better to have him the way he is, one leg in the PDP, one leg in the APC, and then they still manage him that way than to raise the very big hammer, and he goes with all his members, and everywhere is, destroyed. So they are just trying to play along with him.
We have cooked up a new political alchemy, per se. There's a new, should I call it a new
political
theory?
Yeah.
And we are still studying that. We are still studying that.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, Mr. Okechukwu, do you believe that Philip Shuaibu has what it takes to swing victory for the APC with his present stance right now?
Some people, they have nuisance value. And you look at them at that nuisance value, you see how you can manage them. You don't use hammer to kill fly. Granted, some of the offenses he has committed are, on the surface level, if you look at it, they are punishable offense. But you look at pros and cons, you look at cost and benefit. At this point in time, if they wield the hammer on Philip Shuaibu, it will have a boomeranging effect on the party, and you don't go into a major election divided. You don't go into a major context with a house divided.
But be that as it may, divided they are, whether or without.
No, even if they are divided, let them see how they can manage. It's about, it's not about Philip Shuaibu alone. Despite the fact that he has his political family, they can also put some key stakeholders within his rank and file. And those people will sway support for some of their members. Whether I like it or not, the way this system works, they have the apex head, they have the zonal heads, they have the unit heads, and they are the ones that reaches out to the people at the grassroots. So even if information trickles from top to bottom, at some point it could also be breached, and they get certain information or certain instruction by induction, and you induce some of them, they will definitely do the needful in support of the party. Whether I like it or not, in his political family, I'm sure not everybody believes him hook, line, and sinker. So that's the more reason why they should manage him at this level till after the election, that if they look at it, his action, and it costs the party victory, at that point the party can decide to do the needful.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are cooking up some new political theory in the terrain of the politics of Nigeria. Other African countries should do well to keep note, because we are leading when it comes to new political theories in Africa. Let's go to the next story. The Senate has said it will await the decision of the Supreme Court on the contentious issue of local government autonomy before fashioning out the way forward by taking a fresh look at existing laws. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Yemi Adaramodu, said this in an interview in Abuja yesterday. He explained that the upper chamber of the National Assembly was currently constrained and was not in a position to present an opinion until the Supreme Court made a pronouncement. Adaramodu, however, noted that there was a time in the nation's history when local governments were largely autonomous, but noted that a time came when those at the helm of affairs saw things differently. He noted that some people had raised concerns about the revenue allocation vis-a-vis the revenue allocation formula vis-a-vis the issue of equity, amongst other issues. Starting with you, Sir Fineface, sir. is the local government like the baby of the house? Is it having the same rights? Is it having the same standing as a government, as a tier of government? Or is it subservient in the ranking of governments in Nigeria, please, sir?
Yes, I think I will take the last word by saying that the local government areas are subservient to the other tiers of governments.
Constitutionally, right?
Yeah, constitutionally they are. Okay. Because if you look at the constitution, it is basically divided into 3 lists. We have the exclusive legislative list. You have the exclusive legislative belongs to the federal government.
Yes.
You have the residual list, which you have matters that the state government can legislate upon. Then you have the concurrent list, where you have both federal and state.
Exactly.
There is no list provided for the council areas, but just some functions within the constitution that they have to carry out. But the constitution outrightly recognizes the local government areas as the third tier of government. And that is why every 30 days when they go cap in hand to Abuja, they share money, they also share to the council areas. But when the money comes to the state level, the state trap the money in the joint account.
Yes,
which is where the contention is. Because who controls the resources control the local government areas. Exactly. And that is why you have a lot of crises between state governors, state governments, and the local government areas. Even the current war going on in Rivers State now is also as a result of the fact that the state governor has so much power over the local councils. And who controls the local government areas actually control the state politics. Because they are the people that are very close to the people and can mobilize vote for them when it is election period. So it is important, like the Senate have said, that they wait for the pronouncement from the Supreme Court before they can take some actions. I remember when there was this issue of local government autonomy that the Senate was conducting public hearing across the country. Rivers State was one of the states that said, no, we don't want to be autonomous. We want to be on our own. But the same state today is probating and reprobating. Of recent, we had the Martin Samewule led the State Assembly talking about autonomy, amending laws to give some power to the local government area autonomy and things like that. The same states. And he was also at the State Assembly when that law was, that public hearing was rejected, then no law was made. So all of these things they are doing is more politics that they are trying to play. But I think that the issue of local government autonomy should be well granted so that even the conduct of local government elections should not be vested in the hands of State Electoral Commission. It should be vested in the hands of INEC. That way, you will not have a system whereby when local government election is to be conducted, the state governor, state government's party will win all the seats. It won't be so. It will be a better contest whereby who wins at the end of the day will be more responsible to the people than being loyal and responsible to the governors, because to an extent they do some form of selection other than election when you have people going into the local government area. So it is important that the issue of autonomy is properly addressed. And like the Senate have said, they can only be able to take any concrete action after the apex court of the land would have made pronouncement on the matter. So they now have a direction to follow in order to make laws that will back up what the federal and the Supreme Court have said to move the country forward.
Good one, good one. So they have to all abide by the Supreme Court rulings.
Exactly.
Before any other steps can be taken.
Whoever loses from the Supreme Court, we have to wait on God, because that is what it is in terms of the law.
Yeah, Mr. Okechukwu, where do you argue for? Do you argue for the continuous supervision of the accounts? Because what we are also concentrating more on is the financial aspect, revenue allocation formula per se. Does the local government in Nigeria need more supervision in order not to turn the local government chairman into demigods, or do they deserve autonomy as at now?
For me, they deserve autonomy, but with proper checks and balances. Why I say proper checks and balances, whether you like it or not, the local government autonomy, we as the people in the grassroots stand to gain more when there's local government autonomy than when it's left as an appendage of the state government. If it's left as an appendage of the state government, the people will suffer. The governor decides who gets what, when, where, and how. But as a local government chairman, if you're autonomous in terms of your finances, your projects, everything will be people's oriented, in the sense that you would want to go for a second tenure. Even if you're not going for a second tenure, you would want your candidate to sustain or to take over from you. And at that point, you must definitely toe the line of the people. Most of the projects will be people-oriented, and there will be that regular interface between the chairman and the people. The essence of local government is is taking government and governance closer to the people. So if you take it closer to the people, you must, in a way, fashion out a formula and a situation where it will be in the overall interest of the people. So based on this, I strongly believe in local government autonomy, but with proper checks and balances. And I pray that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land, disposes this matter as quickly as possible so that there will be direction. The last time we had a very credible local government election in Nigeria was in 1998, where you saw people across board, different political parties, winning election. But what we have now since 2020, 2002, 2003, when the State Independent Electoral Commission took over, it became a carry-go syndrome, and it has not done the local government administration well in Nigeria.
Oh, okay. In conclusion of this particular topic, sir, do you think that the local government is ready, just as the state has some autonomy from the federal and have checks and balances? Do you think the local government, as we have it now, is ready for such status, sir?
Yeah, I think they are ready because they want some form of stability. Today, in a sister media organization on radio, we are talking about the fact that some local governments, there is an advocacy for them to also have 4 years tenure in office. So if they have the autonomy, there will be the amendment of the constitution, and that will put in place some new measures that will guarantee their safety, tenure of office, and other things in the office. And if they are so recognized by the constitution, they can play their role as autonomous arm of government, then they are likely going to kind of bring forward some dividend of democracy to the people more than necessary. So a lot of them will also get out of the control of the governors, and for that reason they can really take some more decisions that will benefit the people. But a situation whereby they are currently under the state governors and state governments, they cannot really even speak, make some comments that can make development to go forward. And if you see what is happening is a total loyalty, nothing is happening, everybody is loyal, and before you know, they are unable to carry out some development. There are certain policy statements you make that will even go against the state government just to push a local government area to a particular direction. But you can't get that in Nigeria, because if you do that, if you are on the first tenure, you don't come for second tenure, or they bar you from having meeting with the governor, and a lot of those things happen. But when you look at the way the states are operating with the federal, you can see that in some states in Nigeria, you have opposition party against the party at the center. They can make their voices, take their decisions, and even go against the operation at the federal level. And they could be going where? An example was the immediate past administration of former Governor Nyesom Wike in Rivers State. He was in the PDP and fighting even the APC at the center. And everything was going well with him at the state level. But you can never see any local government area in a state going against the policies and programs of that state government. So the autonomy is very key, and I think they are prepared for it.
Oh, nice one, nice one. We've been talking to some political juggernauts and analysts of repute by the names of Fineface Dumnamene and Okechukwu Edenwo. We will go for this short break, and when we come back, more issues. Rest aside. Please stay tuned.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they block.
I have fought very firmly. Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they block.
I have fought very firmly. Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on X today.
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask, oh?
Because this one where they see, so it no guarantee safe delivery.
We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so e no dey, light o usai, the infrastructure e come turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption spoil everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
No vex, now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
That behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Atn Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap am.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I could pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Atn Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
corruption not in my country.
Kasali, I hope so my car don't ready. I get interview in 30 minutes.
Okay, you don't ready. I just the last minute instruction where you give me yesterday. Now in the cause more delay.
Which instruction?
Maybe now you say make I change the meter, make you know it again.
Which time I make you change meter? Oh, Kasali, why?
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people. All of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family. Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
Pleasure is absolutely mine to welcome you back to Atn Politics. And we have been with Fineface Dumnamene and Okechukwu Edenwo, political analysts of repute, and the issues for today are going to be dissected by these gentlemen. And now let's go into the third issue for today. The national leader of the new Nigeria People's Party, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwakwanso, has accused the federal government and the All Progressive Congress of playing politics with the Kano Emirship tussle. Kwakwanso declared that using federal security agencies to protect deposed Emir Aminu Ado Bayero is a ground ploy by the APC and the federal government to create security tension in Kano. Senator Kwakwanso, who was the NNPP flag bearer presidential in 2023 elections, also accused the APC-led federal government of attempting to create a new breed of Boko Haram terrorists and insurgents in the northern Nigeria. Kwakwanso condemned the situation in Kano, alleging that the federal security agencies, with constitutionally assigned responsibility for ensuring peace, law, and order, have been backing the deposed Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero. Speaking at the flag-off ceremony for the construction of an 82-kilometer of rural road network in his hometown, Madobi, Senator Kwakwanso said people of Kano will resist any attempt to undermine the constituted authority in the state. Do we see a replica of what is happening in Kano State also in River State? Let me start with you, Okechukwu, sir.
Well, let's look at the issue at stake. And why I say the issue at stake is Kano State, and I want to say categorically that the worst mistake we made as Nigerians and government is to mix politics with our traditional institution. And because of that dangerous mixture, this traditional institution has been seriously balkanized, and this is the resultant effect where government now decides the fate of traditional rulers. As a traditional ruler and also as a governor, your duty or your job is to take criticisms, either constructive or destructive. All you need to do is to make out the import you need to get from every form of criticism. But today, what do we have? You discover that government has seriously infiltrated the traditional institution, and it's not a good thing for Nigeria's democracy. If you look at it, it started from the reign of Ganduje, where he deposed Sanusi Lamido in broad daylight. Lamido was a known critic of President Goodluck Jonathan in his 4-5 years as president of Nigeria, but it did not affect their relationship. So as a governor, as a leader of people, you must accommodate all shades of interest and opinion. What is happening in Kano State is a dangerous signal, and if it's not nipped in the bud, it will affect other states where governors will just wake up one day, and because you don't like the face of a presumed traditional ruler that is not in support of you, you depose him or you even balkanize his stool. It's not a good thing. So for me, this Kano issue is something that should be condemned, and the right thing ought to be done. Why say the right thing ought to be done? Ado Bayero, the former emir that was deposed, and Ganduje brought him because
positions and policies he took.
Well, if I get you right, I think that the censorship, I don't know whether it is the state government that is trying to censor Ganduje in the things he does. But then I think Ganduje is a Nigerian citizen. He has freedom of expression. He can say his mind. As a former governor, he understands the nooks and crannies of the state, the dynamics, the politics of the state and everything. During his tenure in office, there was also an emir that worked with him, ruled under him. And unlike the South, the emirs, the kings and chiefs, as you may like to call them in the North, they are more powerful. Some of them are more powerful than some state governors in the South and other parts of Nigeria. So be that as it may, I think him talking about the fact that there is this federal might providing security for the emir and things like that. Well, every Nigerian deserves to be given security and provided with security. But when you are a VIP, there is no how you try to not allow them have security that they won't have security. They will still have security.
Exactly.
Be that as it may, even when the IGP have come out to say that security should be withdrawn from VIPs and what have you, I told them it won't work, and it's not working. Go on the street, you see a lot of them still going with security. Ganduje is a former governor. He has freedom of speech. He can speak and talk about issues the way he sees it. So what he said may not be the right thing to say, but you cannot say that what he said is completely out of the way. There is an element of truth in what he's saying, and I think they need to listen to what he has said, because his opinion as a former governor and current national chairman of the All Progressives Congress has something to add to the things that are happening in Kano State at this moment, because when they fail to address some of those issues, it will plunge the state into political crisis, emirate crisis that will affect the ordinary people of that state.
Okay, it's okay, Chiku. Rounding up on this topic, do you think it is okay for a former governor in the caliber of Ganduje to protect himself and his policies when he was in government by bringing to bear the federal might that he now occupies or that he now has in a bid to protect both, because he is also under investigation, not just him, his wife and his children per se. And there are also some other stands that have been taken against him, not just concerning the emirship tussle. Do you think it is in his power to be able to find anything to protect himself, notwithstanding the federal power?
For me, what's happening in Kano State is pure case of vendetta. Why is this a case of vendetta? Just trying to undo one another. When Ganduje was governor, everybody knew his relationship with Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, as he deposed him and brought in Ado Bayero. Now, AMPP won the election in Kano State, and immediately they won. I knew the emir Ado Bayero is just sitting on a keg of gunpowder that might explode anytime soon. So his deposition, I saw it coming, and they brought back Lamido. But for me, like I said at the beginning of this topic, that we should try as much as we can to differentiate between political and traditional institutions. It shouldn't be meddled upon. In fact, it shouldn't even come close to each other, because they occupy different positions at different levels, and they should try and see how they can work together rather than one trying to stifle the neck of the other. And that's what's happening in Kano State. But for me, this Kano matter is before a court of competent jurisdiction, and they should go for robust litigation, and at the end of the day, whatever the law says, based on the law of the land, let the law prevail and take its course.
Okay, let's protect ourselves by not being subjudiced to what is already before the courts of law. And let's move with that into the next story. The Yunusa Tanko, the chief spokesperson for Peter Obi Dati Baba Ahmed Presidential Campaign Council for 2023, says reforming the electoral process is much more needed now than the proposed single tenure rotational presidency to deepen democracy. Tanko, also a former national chairman of the defunct National Conscience Party, said this in an interview with the news agency on Tuesday. He said reforming the electoral process will guarantee the emergence of credible leaders across all levels of government. According to him, deepening democracy to guarantee emergence of credible leaders should be one of the key things to consider in the ongoing process to amend the Constitution. Coming to you, Sir Fineface, sir. Is this the ranting of a losing team, or do they have credibility in what they are propounding now, sir?
They are Nigerians. Even if they are losing team, they are Nigerians. They have
because
their opinion.
why I said that is that history is always fair to the winner.
Exactly. But they are Nigerians, and though they lost the election, they have some ideas on how they would have run the government if they had won. So whatever they say should not be thrown aside.
Okay.
It's just like we are in a country where winner takes it all and loser loses it all in such a way that whatever you say is seen as politics. In the United Kingdom, you have shadow presidents, shadow prime minister, shadow, every office of government has a shadow from the opposition party behind that person, so that when the person brings us a policy, the shadow position person will bring a counter and contribute to what is needed to drive the economy and the government to go forward. So
exactly.
What they are saying is not out of place, that reforming the electoral system is better than talking about single-term rotational presidency. That is their own opinion, because they lost the previous election, 2020 election, because of the issue of electoral reform that was done but not adhered to during the election. That was why they allegedly lose the election. So they are believing that if the electoral system is better, someone can come from any part of the country and can contest and win the election. But to an extent, I believe that if we allow this system to continue and only strengthen our electoral system, and anybody can come from any part of the country as any citizen and contest election and win, other parts of Nigeria will remain marginalized. So I support a system whereby while I support that we should even go about putting our electoral system in place now, the issue of rotational single tenure presidency should be brought in so that we can address the issue in the southeast. The Igbo people believe strongly that they have been marginalized. Since ever when we have, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Ironsi that didn't stay, we've not had anybody from that side become again, and it's one of the issues they are agitating about.
Very true.
But if we have this single tenure rotational presidency, we have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, then we are sure 5 years, you take 5 years, you step aside, take 5 years, step aside. By the time we even have this in place, you will see that even the current electoral process and system we have will suffice, because the competition will be less. If we are picking someone from the South, for instance, to contest for the presidency, even if it's 5 parties we have in Nigeria, the 5 parties are going to 5 candidates from the South. So it is just a competition among themselves to bring out the best.
Yeah.
So whatever system we have, which is also supposed and needs to be credible, we throw out someone that nobody will talk about in such a way that we currently have. The system we currently have in place, whereby we don't have the rotation, you will see that if steps are not taken, and without the gentleman agreement that these political parties sometimes go into, a particular zone or a particular part of the country can continue to become president for the rest of our lives. And that is what is not perfect. We need to have this agreement in our constitution, inserted in the amended constitution, and then we have rotational presidency, single time of 5 years. It will help us a lot in the country.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we are cooking up another new political ideology from the political terrains of Nigeria. But back to you, Mr. Okechikusa. Do you think that the Igbos don't stand a chance to produce a president for the Federal Republic of Nigeria if a single-term rotational presidency is not adhered to?
A single-term rotational presidency and the Igbo presidency, they are two different things. Why I say they are two different things? The single-term presidency is just a matter of semantics. Why the Igbo presidency, it should be a matter of convenience. For me, if we have this proper rotational presidency, just like what happened in 1999, where the two main political parties filed or fielded candidates from the southwest, who had Olusegun Obasanjo, who had Olufalaye, who even ran on the joint ticket of AD and APP. And at the end of the day, an Obasanjo emerged as president. Fine, that was for convenience. So if that is also enshrined in the constitution, but the most important thing is that for us to have a fair, credible and transparent election that should stand the test of time and compete with what they have in Senate claims, there must be some form of electoral reforms. Serious electoral reforms, then with certain clauses enshrined in that electoral reforms. And so by so doing, you discover that Nigeria will become a better place. And the first time in the history of this country, we've had 25 years of unbroken democracy. It might not be democracy to say, but at least civilian rule. And it has helped us. So if we fashion out or dot the I's and cross the T's very well, it will last and it will be sustained, and military rule will become a thing of the past in Nigeria. So to say, for me, the Igbo presidency is something that they should also be given a try. They should be given a shot because they are part of Nigeria.
Okay, give me, so continuing with you, give me 2 reasons that hinders or does not make it tenable for the Igbos to produce a presidency for Nigeria.
I think what has really hindered the Igbos from becoming president of Nigeria, there are some certain misconceptions. And those misconceptions is a matter of narratives and trajectory. I believe if a transparent or an Igbo man that cuts across all geopolitical zone in Nigeria, I'm not campaigning for Obi per se, but Obi made a serious inroad in 2023. And if it is sustained, you discover that P2B will now become a brand. And for the first time, you saw an Igbo presidential candidate winning in places like Lagos and other parts of Nigeria, which was not so from the beginning. So if he can be sustained, I'm not campaigning for him, but if they have other people who can also throw their weight up, some Igbo people who have that national coloration like him too, they can as well become the president of Nigeria. But I think, or I strongly believe that if an Igbo man becomes the president of this country, the country will not disintegrate. But there are some negative misconceptions which must be corrected. And they are the ones that will correct it.
Okay. Let me just speak from where you talk about the negative misconception that is hindering an Igbo man from becoming president. To be very specific about that, there is this belief or misconception that if an Igbo man becomes president of Nigeria, he will divide Nigeria. People have that belief right in them. And the issue of, that is on the line of the issue of the Biafra agitation. Exactly. You know, we believe that will happen. And secondly, there hasn't been any very strong Igbo presidency, Igbo man that is running for president that has cut across, like we have had with the Zik in those days and what have you. Another very strong factor militating against an Igbo man becoming president is betrayal among the same Igbo people. When someone comes out from the Igbo extraction to run for president, you have some fellow Igbo person working against that candidate, betraying that candidate, saying and making some derogatory comments about that candidate, and before you know, that is picked. And putting all of those together is hindering them from getting there. So I think that what we need to do, and what they need to do as well, is to see how they can unite and support whoever comes out of the Igbo extraction to become president. Remember, when they get in there as the president, it's no longer an Igbo president, but an Igbo man, a Nigerian from Igbo extraction. So that becomes the way to go.
Oh, good. Okay, rounding up with you. Give me one electoral reform you would like for the federal government to implement before the coming elections, sir.
Number one is for them to ensure that the electronic voting that they introduced in 2023 but weren't adhered to work ahead of 2027, such that when we cast our votes, real time everything is transmitted to the IRF and we can see it. If that happens, it will be fine. And I think what we also need to do ahead of 2023 is that voting on the floor of the Senate and National Assembly should also be electronic, like we have in other parts of the world. When we experimenting in the National Assembly, whereby members, we don't hear, do you say hi, have it, and even when they say I say nay, the highs are always having it. If we have electronic voting, whereby everything is displaying on the screen, we can experiment from there and then have it like we already have in our constitution for electoral reform, electoral law. If we can put that in place and make it to work in 2027, it will be better, because without that, there is going to be very serious political apathy in 2027, because the vote of 2023 did not count as the people expected. And they will believe that if this reform is not put in place, experimented through off-season elections to ensure it is working and has been adhered to, then it will be difficult for us to achieve in 2027.
Okay.
For me,
give me a closing remark.
The IRF or electronic voting, why electronic voting may not work in Nigeria is that everything is power-driven. What's the rate of power around the country, and it takes power and network for us this thing to work. For me, there should be some form of electoral reform, in the sense that even if we have electronic voting, there should also be electronic transmission of voting result, so that by the time everybody follows it real time from the college and it is transmitted electronically, at least loss of man hour, I mean, they will save man hour, they will save some strength. You know that this whole thing, as I have seen it, everybody has his own copy and is sent. But in a situation where it moves from the ward or from the unit to the ward collation center to rack center, a lot of things happens within that process.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been educated. I don't know about you, but I have been educated by this gentleman here with me on Atn Politics. And that means you should not miss the same edition, same time tomorrow. And I'm going to make sure that this gentleman still grace our screens once more to give us much more than what we had today. Because of time, we call it a wrap. And I remain your host, Raymond Ken Mbata, telling our guests, Mr. Fineface Dumnamene, it's a pleasure, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us too. And okay, Chiko, don't worry.
Always a pleasure.
A pleasure too. And thank you, and make sure you visit our ATN platforms, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter or X, Atlantic TV Net, or watch us live on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching. Until we grace your screen, same time tomorrow. Stay tuned.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.